my talk. Here we go. How he said he living life as a gringo. Where you question where you fit in every time you mingle. They say you do this with not enough that. My rapping is really bad. This life as a gringo.
Yes, hello and welcome to another episode of Life as a Gringo. I am Dramos, of course, and man, a bit of a bittersweet day today because today is the last of our 4 pillars of conscious living kind of, ongoing little special that we've been doing. I don't know what the proper wording would be, but we've tackled awareness at this point. We have tackled money healing. We've tackled community. And today is going to be all about long-term vision. And if you're just tuning into the podcast for the first time or you haven't listened in a while, I was just going back a couple episodes or a few episodes and start off with awareness, which is the first one. And all of this is sort of my philosophy that I've been developing with my wellness brand, Just Be, and along with my business partner, Brenda. It's the kind of fundamental rules or ideas that we utilize to kind of try to live a fulfilled and happy life. It's been the things that have had the greatest impact on me and my life, and I'm trying to share them and give back. And we're going to be opening up the one-on-one group coaching in just a few weeks. So actually next week, September 5th, let me get my dates correct here because your boy has some time off. So I just want to make sure that I'm not fucking anything up. Yeah, so Tuesday, September 5th, 7 p.m., we're going to be doing a free webinar where we just invite a bunch of people to participate live via Zoom. And I'm going to kind of really go diving into the 4 pillars of conscious living. You can ask questions, you can comment, whatever you want to do. And anybody who's been interested in this kind of ongoing series that we've been doing, you can be a part of that. So you can actually go to justbe.nyc and click the Just Be Social Club tab, the social club. And there's going to be a link right there for you to register for the free webinar. All you have to do is put in your name and email address and you are good to go. But that will be Tuesday, September 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern via Zoom. Anybody can attend. It's free. If you want to get a little bit more info on what we're doing, possibly learn more about the one-on-ones that we're going to be launching in September. But again, today we're talking about long-term vision. And to me, this has been obviously crucial, but I'm big on goal setting. So this has been a huge part of my life for years at this point. And I think this has been kind of my ability to obtain the goals that I want is based upon how I actually structure out my plan of action, right? When I goal set, I break everything down into incredibly small steps, and it allows me to really just tackle these big goals by kind of taking these very small steps that eventually add up to the completion of said goals. So on today's show, I'm going to dive into exactly how I plan out my goals and exactly how I get to achieving them on a far regular basis. So we'll do that in our Mi Gente segment. And before that, though, I want to kind of just dive into the benefits of having long-term goals, right? And I found a really dope article from edufund.com or edufund.in, I think technically is the website. And it's called The Benefits of Long-Term Goals, How to Accomplish Long-Term Goals. And I thought that was such a great way to start. But I also think on a deeper level, I'm sure we're going to tackle this, they're going to tackle it. But the reason this is one of the 4 pillars is I think a lot of us feel hopeless. A lot of us sort of feel lost in everyday life because we don't have a North Star that we're looking towards, right? We don't have a grandiose idea that is sort of giving us the power and motivation to push through another day or push through difficult times or to put in a plan of action that might require discipline in the interim, but knowing that it's for a bigger vision, right? And I think this, like all the other 4 pillars is a crucial step in getting to where you want to be, right? Having something that each and every day you wake up knowing that you're working towards. And that's the idea of long-term vision, the idea of like this North Star. And it's been, for me, how I've lived my life for years. And I think that it's no sort of surprise why I've gotten to achieve many of the things that I've set out to do. And not that it's been easy, but I also think that having a purpose each and every day when I wake up gives me that hunger and allows me to have the discipline to work for myself and still be, not sort of just resting on what I've done in the past or not having too many lazy days because I always just have this idea of something greater that I'm working towards, right? So that's long-term vision. Again, it's all a part of our Just Be Social Club, the one-on-ones that we're going to be launching in September. But man, let's just start getting into them. I'm excited. I'm fired up to kind of close out this series. I think it's been amazing, at least for me personally, and kind of revisit a lot of these ideas. I've been getting a lot of good feedback from some of y'all. So without further ado, let's dive into this article from Edfund, and we'll do it in a segment we call For the People in the Back.
Say it louder for the people in the back. Say it louder for the people in the back.
All right, so this is from edufund.in, and it's called The Benefits of Long-Term Goals, How to Accomplish Long-Term Goals, right? And they say, what are long-term goals? Long-term goals are the desires, visions, or ambitions that people know will take some time to achieve. These goals are generally accomplished in the future. The timeline varies from a few years to several years, as the long-term goals cannot be achieved in a day, month, or even 1 year. Long-term goals can be professional or personal goals, like a young man of 20 wanting to become a manager by the age of 30, marrying and settling down by the age of 35, taking a break and traveling for 6 months by the age of 40, setting up education corpus for a child, or planning their retirement fund, right? So that's the idea of long-term goals. And they have this list. It's 9 items, benefits of long-term goals. And I want to kind of just dive into them. The first one they say is gives direction. Without long-term goals, individuals will only think about the present and not think about the future, which, as everyone knows, is quite unpredictable. Suppose an individual is earning $40,000 per month and does not have any long-term goals. He will then spend most of his salary without worrying about future consequences. What happens if he suddenly falls ill, or he requires a lump sum amount of money in the future? Long-term goals give direction. They help people to think ahead and make provisions accordingly, hence the benefits in both personal and professional life. I always think about this in sort of terms of where I'm at in life, and like, yeah, things could be great right now. The money's flowing, but not in a sense of paranoia, right? Because that's the money healing part, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to allow that paranoia to make me feel like my life sucks, or I should be concerned in some sort of way. But having that balance of caution, I think at the end of the day, like positive caution of saying, okay, I'm having a great year, a great month financially, whatever it is. How can I sort of make sure that I'm setting myself up, maybe putting money in savings or making this investment, so that I know when inevitably a time comes when I have a rough month, a rough year, whatever it is, I'm going to be okay, right? And that's the idea of having these long-term ideas in mind, right? For me, it started with investing in real estate, and then now trying to branch out into other investments that are going to hopefully set me up to be a little bit more comfortable in the future. Right, because my long-term vision is, set up with a lot of goals, but it's also knowing that in the career that I'm in, there's going to be ups and downs as far as finances go, and I want to be set up in a position where, I've thought about that, and it's not going to be overly stressful when it inevitably happens, right? Number 2 on this list of the benefits of long-term goals, they say key to changing your life. Long-term goals act as a key to changing your life. Every person has a vision for a bright future. The benefit of long-term goals is that it works as an inspiration behind the goals that motivate and urge to make dreams a reality. Once the goals are set, people often are encouraged to reach the end of the road by any means. They are no longer afraid of the difficulties in their path, instead are driven to reach their goals. Yet I think, this is sort of the main idea. When you have sort of, okay, I want this to happen in the future, giving you that sort of direction, you're now like constantly thinking about it, right? And this is why I read about my goal. I read my goals every night before I go to bed, every morning when I wake up. And it's just to keep it fresh in my mind, so I have that motivation each and every day. When I'm making a decision, when I'm thinking, oh man, what should I be doing right now? I can easily sort of click into, okay, well, what would be in line with my long-term goal? And then it gives you that motivation to kind of seize the day, right? Now, number 3 here, they say motivational tools. A long-term goal is a great motivational tool that gives an individual a focus point. When you have a long-term goal, then you have a target to achieve, and it becomes easier to work for and towards it with complete dedication and determination. And it kind of piggybacks off the last one they mentioned there. Number 4, they say increases self-confidence. Long-term goals inspire a better future and help you to see what you want and what you can achieve in the long run. Measurable and specific long-term goals encourage a positive mindset, help to avoid procrastination, and increase productivity. All these factors at the end of the day boost the self-confidence of a person. And yeah, I think this has definitely been, I guess, a game changer to a degree for me, right? Because I've always struggled with self-confidence, and I still, am on that path, where I'm really getting a hold on it. But I think my ability to sort of look at the goals I've completed, or even look at the tasks I've completed on the way towards a goal, is something that I constantly do almost every day, right? Where I'll be like, fuck, you killed it today, man. Like, you did this, this, and that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you knocked off that little step that you needed that got you just a bit closer, right? So each day, if I'm working towards something and I'm knocking off, these little goals along the way, or the little steps along the way towards the bigger goal, I can proudly kind of pat myself in the back and be like, wow, look at you. You are one step closer towards that actual goal. You've moved forward. And that gives me, confidence in myself, where, I can kind of push back against the negative thoughts that pop up and say, nah, I'm not a failure. I'm not a loser. I'm not this. I'm not that. I just completed this task and I'm getting closer and closer towards this goal. And like being able to revisit that every day, every week, whatever it might be, it's been wildly helpful for me kind of maintaining a bit of self-confidence. So I definitely agree with that. Now, number 5, they say it gives purpose to everyday actions. Setting up goals is not an easy task, nor is moving towards it with complete dedication. But once you set up long-term goals, they can persuade a person towards his end goal. Long-term goals give people purpose to everyday actions and urge an individual to move forward even if the daily activities seem boring. And I actually like this a lot. I've never really thought about it in this way, but I think, like, so say you're saving up for something, right? And you're doing it, maybe doing some jobs that you hate. I know for me, when I was saving up for a house or just trying to put a number of dollars in the bank a few years ago, I can remember I was taking every single DJ gig I possibly could. Or for the house, I was taking every single radio gig I possibly could. And at times I was tired. At times I didn't want to be in the studio. I didn't want to be DJing a particular spot that wasn't the most exciting place. But what got me through it was when I'd be in those moments and I'd be a bit down or a bit tired, I could think to myself, listen, this sucks right now, or it's not ideal right now. But you in this moment right now doing this task, you're actually getting yourself closer and closer to where you want to be. So it would kind of alleviate a little bit of the sort of pain or monotony of that given thing that I was doing, and sort of add some fuel or excitement to me, like knowing like once I walked out of there, I'm like, fuck yeah, man, I am X amount of dollars closer to that goal that I had in mind. And that allowed me to get through some of those more mundane jobs or gigs that I had to do during a particular time. Now, number 6, they say it encourages organized behavior. They say breaking your goals into medium, short, and long-term goals encourages organized behavior. It shows that the individual is capable of handling complex processes and prioritizing his objectives. Long-term goals can look scary at the beginning, but with time, it has the power to transform your way of thinking. Individuals who set up long-term goals are seen as more organized in their behavior and actions than people without any goals in their lives. And yeah, I could see this because I think, as we'll get into when I talk about how I break my goals down, I break them down into like the smallest baby steps I could possibly do, and then kind of work backwards. I work backwards by breaking them down to the smallest baby steps, and then we kind of move forward from there. But it organizes my thoughts, and it allows me to also never like be sitting in a moment like, oh my God, what should I be doing right now, right? I never really have those moments of like, I feel like I should be doing something, I don't know what to do. Because anytime I begin to feel that way, or I wake up and I'm like, all right, what needs to get done today? I have it written down in a notebook, or now I do it on my iPad, and I have all those small mundane tasks under each goal. And I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do that, and this, right? So it's like, I'm very organized at that point because I've taken the time to kind of set up all the steps I need to get to that long-term goal. And I immediately have like a to-do list to be present with, to be presented with every day that keeps me busy and keeps me focused on what I'm supposed to be doing. Number 8, they say it helps in self-improvement. They say one of the important benefits of long-term goals is that it helps in self-improvement. People who set up these goals have to maintain the focus if they want to achieve such goals. Long-term goals shape the direction of the thinking process and encourage people to move forward towards it diligently. It keeps on reminding you that you have done the hard work and only a little work remains. The scope for self-improvement is immense, as you have to improve your habits and move towards the goal somehow or the other to achieve them at any cost. And I think one of the things that resonated with me here was sort of talking about the idea of you have to maintain focus when you have a goal set up, that having a long-term goal allows you to maintain focus. And I believe this, right? Because I think a lot of times when I've had more reckless moments in my life, like financially, it's when I didn't really have something specific I was working towards, right? But now, I'm actually, my mindset recently, I'm working on a project that I'm gonna be doing a live event in January, right? End of January. I think I'd mentioned this, but I'm treating basically from September until then as if I'm going into like a fighting camp. I'm preparing for a big fight like a UFC fighter or a boxer does, right? And I'm basically going to be like dedicated for these next few months towards training to get to this event, all that needs to get done essentially, right? And having that longer term goal in mind, and this one's only about 6 months out, but having that in mind is going to help keep me disciplined, where it's like, you know what, I'm not going to recklessly go spending money going out to the bars, or I'm not going to take a random Tuesday off for no reason, on a regular basis just because, right? I'm going to have like a lot more discipline and knowing like, no, like right now you're in training, getting in fighting shape, so to speak. And this is where your focus needs to be. Anything that is going to, be extracurricular has to fit into that. But the priority right now is getting yourself ready towards this big sort of moment that you're going to have in January. And I think that's what they're discussing right there when it comes to the idea of having a goal and it being able to help you maintain focus, right? So I have this goal of this event. I know what I want it to look like. I know what I want to happen. So now I have to remain focused and only allow myself to do things that either put me in position to achieve that goal or, anything extracurricular, make sure it's nothing that deviates me from my fighting camp, essentially, right? If that makes sense. Now, the last thing on this list, number 9, they say achieve success. Long-term goals give people the time to align the necessary resources with objectives in an effective manner. It keeps you accountable, ensures better handling, and ultimately increases the chances of success, right? I think I wouldn't be here. I know I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my ability to goal set and then make those things sort of happen, right? Without my ability to goal set, even this year, like when I started working together with my business partner, Brenda, it was my goal setting and my ability to break down those goals into smaller steps that got me like the first quarter of this year getting like crazy amounts of shit done. Even now, right? We just put up the pre-order for my second book of the year. You can go check it out on justbe.nyc. But I had like kind of fallen off a little bit from my schedule that I had with that book. Or actually, the second book, I really didn't have a schedule that I was sticking to. I was just writing it here and there. I was taking photos here and there and just kind of putting it all together in this one place, but not really organizing it, right? And then all of a sudden I was like, nope, fuck this. I'm going to, in the next 2 weeks, wrap up this book so that it's good to go and be able to be sent out. And that's what I did. For the last 2 weeks or so, I've been going hard on this book and like was able to get everything organized and everything done so that now it's able to be sent out for printing and we got the pre-order up for people to start getting it, right? But it was because I didn't have a specific goal in mind with that book as far as like, this is our end date for shipping. You need to get it done before then. Kept putting it off. Oh, I don't feel like writing right now. I don't feel like being on the computer and organizing this. And then when I set that goal in mind, like, nope, you're only going to have the next 2 weeks to get this done. All of a sudden my focus snapped into place and I knocked all of this work out that I've been procrastinating on for a couple months at this point, right? But that shows you the power of having a tangible goal in mind and giving yourself that deadline and how powerful it is to actually getting to where you want to be. Now, last thing they say here in conclusion, they say the benefits of long-term goals are that it gives individuals the time to get a grasp on things and achieve them at a steady pace. There is no need to overwork yourself. Instead, people have time to set a comfortable pace that is also achievable, right? And I think that's also the benefit of a long-term goal is that, I sometimes I need these like little sprints where I force myself to like the book and finish it. But I think if you give yourself time and pacing, it's like it doesn't feel like that much of a burden, right? Like the book felt like a little bit of a burden towards the end where I'm really trying to get everything in. Whereas if I would have said, okay, in 2 months, this needs to be done at this specific date, I could have been like gradually getting all of this shit done little by little, and it wouldn't really have felt like that big of a deal, right? Even though releasing a book is monumental for me personally, and releasing a second one in the same year is crazy. But if I would have just taken it little by little and utilizing my time wisely by having little tangible goals in the long run, and actually having a real focused long-term goal with it, it wouldn't have been as stressful of a process, and I would have gotten it done before I knew it, right? So I think this has been a great list. Again, edufund.in. I'll put the link in the show notes for this whole thing if you want to revisit it. But I think a lot of what they brought up just showcases the power of sort of having this long-term vision, having that North Star, and the way that it begins to just shape your mind and your decision-making and kind of keeps you on that right track, which is why I think it's important to always have a long-term vision in mind, right? Even once you accomplish one, you give yourself time to celebrate it and you feel it, but you always should be having something that you're working towards, right? Now, with that said, I want to dive a bit into my own journey when it comes to long-term goals, how I goal set, just to give you a bit of a bit more insight into what's been so helpful and beneficial for me. So we'll touch on that. All right, so one thing I wanted to share on here was just like my own process for setting goals. And I think I've mentioned this a few times in different areas, different platforms, so forgive me if this is redundant for anybody. But the process that has been the most helpful for me was when I learned a few years ago when I worked with a life coach for the first time. And she basically had me set up my goals in 3-month, 6-month, 1 year, 3 years, and 5-year timetables, right? And under each category, I probably had something like 3 or 4 goals per category, right? Maybe up to 5 at different times. And once I would identify, okay, these are the 3 goals that I have for 3 months. These are 3 goals I have for 1 year, these are 3 goals that I have for 3 months. These are 3 goals that I have for 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. Then it was, all right, now break them down, each specific goal, like write them on a different sheet of paper, write down that one goal for that one sheet of paper, break it down into as many tiny steps as humanly possible, right? So we work backwards at that point. What is the smallest, most mundane thing that you have to do to help you get there, right? And it would literally be at times text this person, email this person, blah, 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 anything simple, something simple like that, and I would have it on my list, right? And then eventually you have it for all those goals from 3 months to 5 years that you have at, right? And basically each day I would revisit it when I'm doing my to-do list for that day, or if I was time blocking, whatever I was doing, I would then just pick a couple of those little mundane tasks from each of the categories and add it to my to-do list that day. And then all of a sudden what I noticed was little by little, or pretty quickly actually, I was just crushing goals, right? My 6-month goal was getting done in 2 months. My 3-month goal was getting done in 1 month, right? And so on and so forth. But it was because I no longer was being intimidated by the bigger goal in mind, right? And I think it's a couple things, but that's the first one. Because it's easy to procrastinate when you're intimidated by the bigger goal, right? It's like being back in school and they give you 2 months to write this paper. And I know for me, I always waited until the night before to do that paper, right? Or the weekend before it was due to start working on that paper. And it's because the whole time I built it up in my head, oh, I don't feel like doing it. It's a lot of work. I don't feel like doing it. Then all of a sudden you sit down and you do it in one day and you're like, fuck, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I think a lot of times that's what ends up happening with our goals, right? Where our mind starts building it up like it's this grandiose thing and it's going to be so difficult, and we just keep putting it off because we're nervous about how big this whole thing feels, how big it sounds, right? And I think what we always end up realizing is that once we get to work, again, it's like the school thing, it never was that bad. So the beauty of this is it allows it to be really small, mundane tasks, right? If I have a to-do list that is like 2 of them are sending a text to somebody, 3 are sending an email to somebody, I could literally knock that out within 10 minutes. And all of a sudden I'm like, shit, I am a few steps closer to this goal. I just crushed this day because I just knocked out whatever, 5, 6, 7 different things off of the steps to getting to that goal, right? And what I would do is I would cross them off on my notebook so I could visually see it and feel myself crossing it off. And next thing you know, you've crossed off everything on there and you've now arrived at your goal. Like every day it gives you the confidence and the boost of like just energy and happiness because you're getting those little wins along the way, right? And I think the second part of it, aside from the confidence you get from those little wins along the way, is having the sort of day lined up for you almost, right? And not in a way where it becomes mundane and boring, but in a way of like, okay, I would sit down in the morning and do my to-do list. Now we do it weekly, but I would literally just be pulling things off of that list I had. I would go do them, and that was it, right? There wasn't this sort of like, A, stress about what should I be doing right now, but B, it also allowed me to not be wasting time, right? Because then I had an easy way to make my to-do list, right? I didn't have to sit there thinking, okay, what should I be doing? What would be best? No, I had the list in front of me already of all the things that needed to get done. I just had to add it to that day's workload, you know? And it allowed me to not waste time. It allowed me to not procrastinate as much because I had a visual of what I needed to get done. And, you know, I think it allowed me to approach each and every day with far more focus, right? And with that, I think brought a lot more happiness and continues to do that, right? Because I've noticed the days where I'm, you know, sort of not looking at my list, or I'm like not kind of getting in the studio and into my process of tackling that day's tasks, like my mental health struggles, right? My mind starts going to some dark places at times. Depression sinks in, anxiety might sink in, whatever it is, right? But the days that I'm being more disciplined and I'm literally like, all right, let me hit the studio and let me tackle these today's to-do lists because I have it laid out for me. Mentally, I'm in a far better place. I'm like moving. I feel good about the day. I'm like patting myself on the back every step of the way. When the day is over, I'm like, fuck, that was a great day. I got all these things done. I can look at all the stuff that I crossed off my list. You know, it gives you a purpose for your day and then eventually your life, right? Like for me, I have my to-do list, I always say, is never ending, right? And I love that. Some people might give you anxiety, but I've flipped the anxiety into the idea of I always have something to do and something that I'm interested in doing, right? Because these are all things that I'm passionate about. So I never have to worry about being bored for the most part. I'm generally not afraid of being alone or spending time alone, right? If the weather is changing, I actually like it now when the weather gets crappier because it's less distractions. And I'm not bummed out about the fact that it's a rainy, crappy day in the summer or something. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to spend that day in the studio tackling a bunch of stuff. Saturday, I don't have any plans. Man, I'm gonna go and tackle a bunch of things off my to-do list, right? Like I always have something to do. I always have a purpose to my day because I'm always working towards something bigger, right? I always have a bigger vision in mind. And I never allow myself to just sit there and rest on the fact that I've accomplished one of my long-term goals or something like that, right? When I accomplish something else, I go ahead and create a new one, right? I honestly, it is August, right? I've redone my goal sheet about 3 or 4 times already this year, right? I just keep adjusting it. And some of it is based upon stuff I've tackled and I've knocked them off the list. Or other stuff is like, oh, I tried this and I'm not really feeling it as my goal anymore. And I revisit it and I set a goal thing. And every time I do my goals laid out, I feel energized, like ready to just take on the world. You know, at times, if I'm in a bit of a funk or something like that, I'm like, all right, fuck it. Let's revisit our goals. Let's go write this down again. Let's adjust. Let's see if there's anything we want to add to it or take away. And then all of a sudden I'm in a great mood. But again, I think it speaks to the idea of having some sort of purpose, something you're constantly working towards, right? Instead of like, okay, I went to my 9 to 5, I came home and I'm just sitting on the couch all day. All right, let me wake up again tomorrow, 9 to 5, come home, eat something, sit on the couch all day, go to bed, right? That is like, that'll drive you absolutely insane because you're maybe working a job you don't like, and then you're just going home with no real focus or purpose, and you're just kind of sitting around as the hours pass by until it's time to go to bed and do the same thing all over again, right? Whereas I know for me, when I was working a job that I wasn't happy at, the fact that I had these goals, I would fucking run home. I'd come home excited and energized by the fact that I get to now work on the things that I'm really interested in, right? That I now have these goals that I'm working towards. That made my days far more exciting and like made me kind of, I don't know, I guess it allowed me to work through the job that I hated without feeling as much stress or pain, right? Because I knew that on the other side of that day, I was working towards something bigger, or I knew that I was getting closer and closer towards my bigger goal, which hopefully would inevitably get me out of that job, right? So having that energy of knowing that there was something else I was living for, bigger than myself, always sort of made the darker moments far more positive, right? And allowed me to have far more excitement in my life and fulfillment, knowing that I wasn't just sort of doing anything for the hell of it, but I really was working towards something great. And I think that's sort of the key to this idea of long-term goal and the idea of having a North Star is that it gives you purpose day in and day out. And I think for me, the fulfillment and the peace of mind in this life, they come from the fact that I know that each and every day I have something to look forward to, something that is getting me closer and closer towards, something bigger than myself or a better version of myself, right? And knowing that I have that to look forward to, that I have another step forward to sort of knock down, right, each and every day, and that each and every day I'm getting closer and closer to something bigger. Like, man, that energizes me to get out of bed in the morning and to put in the work day in and day out, right? And that's why having that North Star, having a long-term vision is essential, right? And into, actually living and not just merely existing at the end of the day. Now, with that said, we're going to tie everything we talked about today in a neat little bow. I mean, I think we've kind of really broken down long-term goals and the benefits of it. I don't think I have to sell you on it at this point, but we're gonna tie it all together in a neat little bow in a segment called Conclusion Stew.
Time for conclusion stew.
All right, so this is the finale to our 4 Pillars of Conscious Living series. Again, awareness, money, healing, community, and long-term vision, which we talked about today. This is all about the philosophy of the Just Be Social Club, our new one-on-ones that we're going to be launching in just a few weeks. We're going to be opening it up, and then October it'll start up. And a reminder, on Tuesday, September 5th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be doing a free webinar via Zoom, all on the 4 Pillars of Conscious Living. I will be there. My business partner, Brenda, will be able to field questions from anybody who's interested in hearing more or anything specific that came up from listening to these podcasts. We'll give you more info on how you can join the one-on-ones that we're going to be launching. justbe.nyc is the website, justbe.nyc. And on there, you'll see a tab that says Social Club. Click that, and there will be a link right there for you to sign up for the free webinar. It'll be via Zoom. Nothing crazy, just your name and an email address, and you'll be signed up for our free webinar. Again, it's September 5th. It's a Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to talk all about this live, and you guys can pick my brain and my business partner, Brenda, any questions you might have. But, man, long-term vision. I just think it is essential for mental health. As somebody who struggles with depression from time to time, this has really been one of the key things for myself. And I've had this since I was late teens, early 20s. I've been having a bigger dream in mind, and then now kind of really honing it and understanding how the more specific I can get, the better, right? Because that's a part of it. You don't want to just say, my long-term vision is to be happy. No, what makes you happy, right? How much money a year makes you happy? What career, what job title, what business do you want to be running? What goal do you want to be doing specifically? What creative project, right? What does that look like? How many people listen to it? How many downloads? All that stuff, right? You want to be working towards something incredibly specific. And I think that's one of the keys to long-term vision that we didn't mention prior to this, but is being extremely specific on what you want. I can tell you right now where my dream house is. I can give you the address. I'm not going to, but I can tell you the house that I'm going to be buying, my forever home, in a year, hopefully, right? I can tell you what the home is. I know how much it costs. I know how much money I need to make to buy that home. And I have it dialed into like that sort of specificity. I can tell you how much money I want to be making in the next 5 years. I have it dialed into that specificity, right? So that's how you have to be thinking when it comes to long-term goals. And the beauty of it is now it's all like programmed into my mind so that every single day I know I'm working towards one of these things, right? And I'm making decisions that hopefully get me towards that, right? And when it comes to discipline, right? Like we all have our vices. I'm no different than that. But like what I've noticed with this is I can, in the moments where I'm tempted to do something or to go out or to do whatever it is, I can ask myself, does this actually help me get to where I want to be, right? And then I start thinking about my goals and the money it takes to do something or how much money I'm trying to save. And then in that moment, I could be like, nope, I don't need to buy those pair of sneakers right now. I don't need to go out and do this or go out and do that. I need to stay in and work on something, right? Because I want to make sure I complete this task before the end of the week, right? All of that helps in the discipline. And then when that moment passes or I've checked something off the list, I feel great about myself and proud of myself because I know I was putting in the hard work needed to make sure that thing got done, right? I also, at the end of the week when I'm journaling, I'll usually write down like 5 wins from that week, right? And it's just like an extra way to pat myself on the back. And all of those sort of wins come from me having this long-term vision in mind and doing something each and every day that will get me closer and closer towards those goals, right? That's the importance, I think, of long-term vision. And again, on moments where I've been struggling with depression or have things going on in my personal life, having something to wake up towards every single day that is something that's fulfilling and I enjoy doing, and I'm working towards a bigger version of it, knowing that I have that always brings me a bit more peace, even in those moments where I'm maybe dealing with something personally that's difficult, right? So I think all of that is the benefits of this idea of having a long-term vision and a North Star that you're working towards. And we as human beings, I think, always have to have something in mind that we're striving for that is bigger than our current moment, that is something that, you know, gets us out of bed in the morning even when we don't feel like it, that we know, you know, makes us happy. And the beauty is these are goals that will bring you joy and some sort of purpose, or get you in a position that you can do that for yourself. If it's like something financially that you're setting a goal for, to buy yourself the house or to start the business, like, you know that all of this is working towards your future happiness, and it makes it that much easier to sacrifice when it comes to saving, or sacrifice when it comes to how you spend your time, and all those different things, right? Because you can remind yourself of what you're working towards. And I think that aids in the confidence of being proud of yourself and being at peace and fulfilled in knowing that you are on the right path, because it's in line with what you want your life to look like, right? And I think that's the importance of the long-term vision that we speak about here with the Just Be Social Club and the 4 pillars of conscious living that we've been talking about. So again, if you want to be, you know, a part of the free webinar that we're doing via Zoom, it's on Tuesday, September 5th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be via Zoom. It is free. You will be able to talk to us. You can ask questions. You can, you know, suggest things, whatever you want to do, or just, I'm going to be speaking about this a little bit more in depth in real time. We want to be a part of that. Go to justbe.nyc. That's our website, Social Club tab. And then right there, there'll be a link for you to go on to Zoom and sign up, right, for the webinar that we're doing. Again, September 5th, it's a Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, free, absolutely free to sign up for. All you got to do is RSVP so we know, you know, what to expect as far as the crowd goes. And man, that's it. 4 pillars of conscious living. We are going to be launching our offer in the second week of September, I believe it is. So again, Tuesday, September 5th will be the free webinar. The next week, we're going to be opening up the doors for anybody who wants to be a part of this new round of coaching that we're going to be doing based upon the 4 pillars of conscious living. That'll be second week of September. We're going to leave it open for a couple weeks, close it out, and then we'll start the one-on-ones right at the beginning of October. So it snuck up on me, man. It's moving quick, but I'm so excited by the work that we're doing, man. The 2 groups that we have going on right now for the Just Be Social Club, it's been crazy to just see where people are now. We had a private meetup last week that was just so fucking powerful. I left feeling so motivated and just inspired by everything. So I just can't wait to keep meeting more people and bringing hopefully this sort of knowledge and just, you know, bringing community together and giving anybody who wants it, you know, a friendly face and voice to help you kind of get to wherever you want to be in this life. That's the overall goal with the Just Be Social Club and Just Be the wellness movement itself. So hopefully y'all will sign up. I want to see some new faces. September 5th. That is a Tuesday again, 7 p.m. Eastern time, free webinar on the 4 pillars of conscious living, justbe.nyc social club tab for you to sign up to be a part of that. And with that said, man, I'm going to be taking some time off, a little staycation, a little traveling as well. So we won't have a Thursday Trends episode this week, and I'll be back for a brand new episode on September 7th. So September 7th, we will start back up with Thursday Trends. Until then, this is the last episode for about a week or so, a week and a half. Everybody have an amazing Labor Day. Hopefully you get to squeeze in some last bits of summer, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Till then, be safe. Peace.